the cooperation between China and Pakistan during this conflict, according to you, Ambassador Gokhale, because you're a very close China watcher. How has China's political influence in Pakistan increased since 2014, 2015?
Well, Pakistan has always been seen as a strategic asset since the early 1960s. And China has systematically cultivated Pakistan for a variety of reasons. Firstly, because it is, in a sense, at least in Chinese minds, a counterbalance to us. Second, it is a gateway to the Arabian Sea. And in a sense, it is one possible solution to their Malacca dilemma. Thirdly, they prefer that it is not part of the United States camp because US military bases in Pakistan are seen by China as a threat to their national security. And lastly, of course, they believe that Pakistan's friendship will help in controlling ethnic fundamentalism in their own ethnic borderlands. So there are a number of reasons for this strategic relationship. We are just one of them. Now, really speaking, since 2015, all these reasons have become important to China. And China has decided to invest economically and strategically through what we know as the so-called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And I presume that this will get even more important for China now, because by the end of this decade, the PLA Navy, the Chinese Navy, is likely to have either a permanent or semi-permanent presence in the Indian Ocean. We know that the third carrier group is already being tested, and once it is fully seaworthy, it is likely to be deployed in the Indian Ocean. For that to be done, China needs friendly ports of call where it does overhaul and repair and so on and so forth, replenishment of supplies. They have a base in Djibouti, but Gwadar will become increasingly, in my opinion, a sort of base where the Chinese Navy will do its replenishments and repairs. That makes it even more of a strategic partner. So I would think that China's influence in Pakistan is slated to grow politically, economically, and militarily. It is facing some challenges, particularly attacks on Chinese assets and Chinese personnel by fundamentalist groups. It is also concerned at Pakistan's economic decline and its inability to pay for some of these projects. But in overall terms, Parikshit, China feels this is a strategic investment. It's not looking to get every dollar back, so long as it gets advantages in terms of national security. And that is the fundamental basis for this relationship.
So that brings us to the next question. How should India manage its differences with China? Ambassador Gokhale, how have we done in terms of managing the border tensions? And secondly, should India now revisit the FDI policy vis-a-vis China or not yet?
Well, I think I would characterize the progress as limited on the line of actual control. We have successfully disengaged at the various points on which we clashed in 2020. But to my knowledge, we have not yet gone to the second stage of de-escalation, which is moving troops back to agreed distances so as to further minimize the possibility of conflict. If you look at other parts of the relationship, we have resumed the pilgrimage, but we have not yet resumed direct flights, and the visa restrictions are still in place. On the trade side, the imbalance continues. And I don't think China is as yet ready to tackle this as a political issue. And so far as other economic activities are concerned, news that is coming out in bits and pieces suggests that some form of an informal sanctions is also being imposed against India. We hear news that critical tunnel boring equipment for metro systems has been blocked, export of equipment. We are hearing news that equipment for making the next generation of Apple phones in India is finding difficulty in getting exported. We know that a couple of Indian companies who were in joint ventures with Chinese companies for lithium-ion technology have found obstacles in their way. And added to this, of course, is the recent conflict with Pakistan, which has dampened the mood and the enthusiasm so far as China is concerned. because, like it or not, China did tilt towards Pakistan. So I would say progress is slow, but I think it is necessary to develop a new framework for the relationship. The old framework has, of course, collapsed. Because if we don't develop a new framework, then the current state of armed coexistence makes the relationship unstable. To the extent that you have a new political, economic, and structural framework, that relationship is easier to manage. I do believe, however, that there is wisdom on both sides. And I'm quite confident that our government is already thinking of steps to be taken to rebuild, or not to rebuild, to build a new framework.
Right. What would be that new framework? Because clearly there are challenges in India's neighborhood. We are seen as an alternative to China. We want to rise up as a global manufacturer, Ambassador Gokhale. But what do we need to do vis-a-vis China and also for our own self-reliance globally as well? And that would be my final question to you.
Well, I think it's very difficult to predict what the framework will be. I think India's objectives are first and foremost to have a predictable relationship. You don't want it to be unpredictable. Secondly, you would like it to be a relationship based on the understanding that neither side will use force or threaten to use force, so that you use those resources better for economic development. And thirdly, I think we would like to leverage China's economy for our development, but that will depend on whether China is keen on investing in real terms. What do I mean by that? I mean, we would like to see greenfield Chinese investment, not investment in what is environmentally dirty industries or in the old manufacturing processes. And in the new areas, we would like to see some technology transfer, not simply an assembly plant in India, which is intended really to sell in the Indian market. If this can be something that China can consider, they will see that India responds positively. And at that time, I'm sure our FDI policy will reflect that. At this stage, however, I'm a little reluctant to advocate the cause for relaxing our FDI policy, simply because, in my opinion, China continues to look at us principally as a market, and its entire effort is market penetration and not partnering India in terms of industrial development or economic growth.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Vijay Gokhale, for joining us. That was the former Foreign Secretary decoding China and Xi Jinping's game plan.